Subscribe the channel for latest updates. Press the bell icon. Get ready for the dictation. At the count of 3, 2, 1, start. I rise to give my wholehearted support to this measure, which I consider to be of immense importance and a landmark in the history of industrialization in the country. This bill aims at setting up a permanent machinery for according protection to those industries of our country which stand in need of it. This country, which is so very rich in all its resources, was at one time of its history at the pinnacle of glory, not in the production of raw materials but in the manufacture of finished goods, but the continuous foreign rule for centuries ruined all its industries, with the result that the country has been brought down from that height of industrial glory. For centuries, our production, though it was more or less of the cottage industry type, commanded markets throughout the world. We know what steps were taken by our foreign rulers to discourage our home industries and to raise the protective tariff walls in their own country to make it industrially sound. We know how our weavers were tyrannized. It is a matter of history and needs no repetition here. Therefore, this country, which has been under the heel of the foreigners for centuries, has now to begin its life afresh and to rejuvenate and renovate its ruined industries. I therefore regard this measure, which is the first constructive attempt on the part of the government to bring industry on a sound footing, as a great landmark in the history of industrialization. For years, this country and the government which was at the helm of its affairs believed in unrestricted foreign trade. It was only during World War I that the then government thought for the first time that some steps must be taken in this country towards industrialization. An industrial commission was appointed in 1916. It apparently had nothing to do with the tariff policy, but for the first time it concentrated attention on the sphere and domain of the development of industries in the country. Times were changing. There was a feeling of political consciousness amongst the masses. With the August Declaration of 1917, there was a cry for the grant of fiscal autonomy, and for the first time we saw fiscal autonomy in the convention. In 1923, the first fiscal commission was appointed, and subsequently the government appointed ad hoc tariff boards. We must keep in mind that it was still the foreign government that was at the helm of affairs, and the terms of reference of these ad hoc tariff boards were very limited in their character. For example, before any industry could be considered to be entitled for the grant of protection, it was essential that there should be abundant natural resources for that industry available in the country itself. There should be a local market for its produce. There should be real potentialities for its development and its development at a rapid pace. Even then, the protection was afforded only for limited periods, and that too only in cases where a certain industry could stand foreign competition. These were the limitations, but even in this limited sphere, we have several illustrations which show that the government of that day never accepted the recommendations of these tariff boards when they clashed with the interests of foreign capitalists, particularly British capitalists in this country. In 1928, the government refused to grant any protection to the locomotive manufacturing industry on the lame excuse that there was no market for it in India. We know how crores and crores of rupees had to be spent for buying locomotives outside the country, and even today we are importing these locomotives from abroad. Thus, we see that when these tariff boards were appointed for the first time, they functioned in a very halting and indecisive manner, and they were intended only for the protection of the interests of foreign capitalists and not for the development of indigenous industries. Then came the war. From 1939 up to 1945, the policy of the government was to maintain the protection already afforded by giving fresh lease of life to the Protective Duties Acts. It was in November 1945 that the then government appointed an interim tariff board which, with extended life, is still working, and which tariff board is sought to be replaced by the Tariff Commission envisaged in this piece of legislation. This bill incorporates very important provisions which fall into three categories. Firstly, Chapter 2 deals with the establishment of the Commission, its personnel and constitution, the qualifications of the members and the chairman, and also the terms of office and tenure of service of the members and the chairman. The second part, which is very soul of this legislation, deals with the functions and duties of the Commission, which are incorporated in Clause 11 of the bill. The third part of the bill is of a routine character.